Hi everybody, I'm Lily Hills, the award-winning author of The Body Love Manual, How to Love the Body You Have as You Create the Body You Want. And I'm the founder of Healthy Weight Coaching Center in Carmel, California. Thank you for joining me for this video series where I'll be teaching you how to lose weight the natural, pleasurable, and permanent way without dieting, taking appetite suppressants, or over-exercising, or denying yourself your favorite foods. It might sound too good to be true, but I'm living proof that it's not. The approach I'm going to share with you is completely natural and one that I used to lose over 60 pounds and keep up those 60 pounds for over a decade. During the 15 years I struggled with losing weight, I pretty much tried every diet and weight management program that's crossed my desperate path. From the most popular ones you'll see constantly on television and on the internet with celebrity endorsements, and even random ones like the lollipop diet or the wine diet that were advertised for the desperate dieter. Now I not only know through trial and error what doesn't work when it comes to losing weight, I know exactly what does. I'm going to pass along the findings of that research to you so that you don't have to waste any more time or energy figuring it out, so that you can live the rest of your life feeling good about yourself and your body, free from the worry and stress and judgment that accompany compulsion on any level. Whether you have a little bit of compulsion around food, when you eat when you're not hungry some of the time, or if you find yourself constantly struggling with trying to control your appetite. My goal is to support you in being excited about your new relationship with your body, being excited to get dressed in the morning, and not just proud of your body, but love it like a best friend, because the truth is, you're going to be sleeping with it for the rest of your life. So loving your body is simply a brilliant idea. As I shared, these videos are a free mini crash course on some of the most powerful keys to losing weight. And in order to understand what does work in terms of permanent weight loss, we also need to have a clear understanding of what doesn't work. And the fact is, diets are one of the biggest setbacks to losing weight. That's right, diets don't work. And this probably doesn't come as a big surprise. You've probably tried a bunch of them like I did, and they haven't worked out for you in the long term. But we all keep reverting back to them because we don't know what else to do. You know, we hear about other people trying a new diet that promises quick weight loss, and we think, this is going to be it. This is going to be the one. But with over 26,000 diets having been published since the late 1800s, don't you think if diets did work, that our obesity rates would be declining rather than escalating rapidly? Conclusive studies show that diets don't work in 95 to 98% of all cases in the long term. That's a huge deal. Would you buy or try any other product that didn't work in 95 to 98% of all cases? Like an aspirin that only worked 2 to 5% of the time? Of course not. But when I heard that diets didn't work, when I heard that statistic the first time, I was pretty bummed out because I spent so many years dieting. I felt betrayed and frustrated, but in spite of the studies, I also wanted to still believe that I was going to be that 2 to 5% that could make it work. So I kept returning to the dieting treadmill for years and years. But it's more complicated than that, because not only do diets not work, studies show that after one diet, not only do we not keep the weight off that we've lost, we usually gain another 10% of what we lost on top of that, just to add a little insult to injury. You know, talk about a slap in the face, even if we manage to stick to a diet, which is incredibly difficult to do. Our reward is more excess weight. And even worse, dieting has been shown conclusively to lead to a large variety of eating disorders. My own struggle with severe compulsion around food started with my very first diet, so I am a poster child for the dangers of dieting. And the way that diet companies hook us into dieting is that diets can work temporarily, so we keep going back to them thinking, this time it's going to work, or I'll diet the extra weight away and then start eating healthier after I've lost 10 pounds. I told myself that same story 100 times or more. It always seemed like a great idea, except for the fact that it never worked. The fact is, diets don't work not only from a physical perspective, but an emotional one as well. Let's start with the emotional side. We all know that diets set us up to binge, right? They put us in an emotional state I like to call my possessed state, where I feel like I have absolutely no control over what I eat, and where I eat so compulsively and often so quickly that I couldn't even remember eating as much as I did. The food disappeared like a magic trick from my plate, but I could barely remember eating it. That was almost always the case when I was watching television and eating at the same time or surfing the internet. One of the major problems with diets is that they teach you to ignore your body rather than listen to it. And that's a major flaw. Your body is incredibly brilliant, and I'm going to teach you how listening to your body will allow you to reach your natural weight permanently. And another major flaw with diets is they can also make you feel restricted and powerless. And like a rebellious teenager, when we feel confined, even by our own choice, we're 10 times more likely to binge eat. Diets put you in a disempowered and childlike state of mind where we're rebelling in a way that doesn't buy us freedom, but rather guarantees us more of the same suffering that comes with overeating. Dr. Neil Bernard, in his book, The Power of Your Palate, calls it the restrained eater phenomenon. And he shares that even when we're restricting ourselves intentionally, even when we're choosing to diet, it sets up a vulnerable and conflicted state of mind and an intense physical state in which, again, we're far more likely to act impulsively and irrationally, i.e. binge eating. This explains why not just adults, but children that are put on diets are far more likely to binge eat than those that are allowed to eat naturally without restrictions. And another giant problem with dieting is that they don't get to the root of the problem. The worries and habits and overwhelm and frustrations and fears and even self-doubts that are frequently at the heart of compulsive or impulsive eating. These can be worries about money or relationship or our job or our health or the future and even other people. And attempting to control our food becomes our coping mechanism for all of these stressful situations, rather than unearthing and dealing directly with the root of our biggest issues, so we can slay that dragon of tension and self-judgment permanently. Diets are dangerous as well, because the more you diet, the more dysfunctional your relationship with food becomes, and the more likely you are to develop other eating disorders, including bulimia and anorexia. Okay, that should be more than enough concrete information to get you to stop dieting forever. But if you need more information, here's an equally valid reason to abandon dieting for good. During my decade-long weight release process, I learned the most basic reason that diets don't work is that they run counter to your body's most basic survival instincts. So what do I mean by that? Well, in the days of our earliest ancestors, there were no guarantees that they'd be able to feed themselves and their families. There weren't any fast food restaurants or refrigerators stocked with food. They had to hunt and forage for their food. And there were times of feast and times of famine. When food was abundant, like during the summer and spring, food was pretty much easier to access. Berries and nuts and things like that. It was much easier to gather those foods than during the winter, when animals were harder to find because they were hibernating. And then there were seasons where there were drought or flood or vermin that basically wiped out food supplies. So during these times, our ancestors survived on what they could find, the few items they could store, like the nuts and the root vegetables and so forth. They avoided starving to death during times of famine because their bodies helped them to adapt to severe shortages of food. How? By storing fat more efficiently, in part through slowing down the metabolism, the rate at which your body burns calories, so that it simply didn't require as much food to survive. So what does that have to do with dieting? Everything. Because your body doesn't know you're intentionally restricting your caloric intake. It interprets a diet as a famine. And every time you restrict your food intake, your body goes into survival mode, slowing your metabolism down, because it thinks that by doing so, it's helping to keep you alive. So as you can see, diets work overtime against your efforts to release weight. Current statistics show that after one diet, just one, your metabolism can be slowed as much as 40%. 40%! And furthermore, it can take up into a year for your metabolism to return to its pre-diet calorie burning capacity. So this metabolic slowdown would explain why people tend to gain more weight back after a diet, typically around 10%. So here's how that metabolic meltdown might work in your case. So let's say you weigh 160 pounds and you normally burn about 2,000 calories a day. And you start a diet and you restrict your calories to only 1,100 a day. And your body, recognizing that it's getting far fewer calories than normal, interprets this as starvation because it doesn't understand, again, that you're intentionally reducing your food intake. It then purposefully starts reducing the number of calories necessary to keep you functioning by lowering your metabolism, again, which we talked about, slowing down the rate at which you burn calories. That way it can help you to survive on the small portions you're eating. So let's say after a few weeks on a diet, you manage to make it to the end of it, which is no small miracle, and you drop 10 pounds. Now you go off the diet and start to eat what was, before the diet, totally normal. Unfortunately, your body's now adjusted to 1,100 calories a day by lowering your metabolism. And when you go back to eating 2,000 calories a day, in the worst case scenario, your metabolic rate has dropped 40%. your body now thinks it's getting an excess 900 calories, which it will then store and hoard as fat. So when you return to your regular eating habits, not only will you gain back the 10 pounds, but you may also put on a few more. And if you're one of the unlucky individuals where your metabolism drops by 40%, it could take a year for your metabolism to recover. That's a very big deal. Yikes. And no wonder dieting and losing weight has become such a struggle. All the physical discomfort and emotional frustration of dieting is wasted because the temporary weight loss achieved is frequently offset by the long-term damage of a lowered metabolic rate. So this is why I think there should be a warning label on diet products. All of them, warning. Diets lead to obsession with food, a weakened metabolism, eating disorders, and more excess weight. Why that's not mainstream information, I don't know. Probably because there are billions of dollars being made through the diet industry. And just as bad as these horrible consequences of dieting is that they set you up to judge yourself harshly. So again, one of the major challenges with this scenario is that when the diet creates compulsion around food, it sets you up to feel like there's something wrong with you that you can't stop eating. It's not the diet, it's you. That's what we tell ourselves. So this creates an additional compulsion around food, rather than recognizing that with the diets, we've been following the wrong map to the destination we want to get to. We've literally been following information that sets us back, that makes things worse. You know, if diets were a car, they'd be a lemon. If it was software, it would be a program that constantly crashed because of that faulty programming. But the good news is that it is definitely the diets that are broken, not you. All the years of self-judgment were unnecessary and a waste of your precious energy. You know, it's like judging yourself for getting lost on a road trip when you were literally given the wrong map. So the good news is, now you know. You can officially cross dieting off your list forever. No use spending time regretting it because it won't help. Best thing to do is move forward and focus on what you're able to learn in terms of reaching your healthiest weight permanently. Now that we know what doesn't work when it comes to releasing weight, it's time to get to what does work. But before we move on, if you have any questions about what I just covered, please post them below, and I'll be replying to as many as I can as soon as I can. In the next video, I'll email you. I'll be teaching you some simple ways to lose weight, again, without dieting or even denying yourself your favorite foods. Yahoo! So check your inbox for the next installment of the Weight Loss with Lily series. And remember, be kind and compassionate with yourself today. It reduces your stress levels, reduces your emotional appetites, and brings out the healthiest and happiest version of you. I'll see you in the next video.